Okay, so we're just going to take a moment to arrive here. So um, feel free to stand or sit or lie down, whatever it's going to be the most comfortable for you. And we might close our eyes or soften the gaze, just bringing the attention inward, checking in with what we're arriving here with today, noticing the sensations in the body, noticing any stories that we're coming in with, any thoughts, and just giving ourselves this chance to settle in here, feeling the connection to the ground, the support of the ground, and noticing the movements of breath. And then as you're ready, if you're not already standing, you might transition to standing, or feel free if sitting or lying down feels more comfortable right now, that's fine. Really give yourself a chance to explore. So just welcoming in that childlike curiosity, not quite knowing how the body is going to feel today, how the body is going to move. So if you're transitioning into a different position, see if you can explore your way there rather than pushing your body into a preconceived notion of the right position. So just letting yourself find your way. Once you've found your way there, you can try shaking out your hands and feet, just letting go of any extra energy, anything that's no longer needed now. And then you might rub your hands together and then bring the hands to the low back. You might try rubbing or tapping or offering some movement to this area of the pelvis, the low back, the low belly. And then exploring the length of the spine. You might rub your hands up and down the spine, feeling the length of the spine, the shape of the spine, the curves. And then shaking out the hands and feet again, maybe rubbing the hands together one more time, and then bringing the hands over the eyes, releasing any extra tension in the face, around the eyes, around the jaw. Noticing the breath here, and then taking your own time, following your own rhythm, tending to the whole body from the head down to the feet. So you might rub your scalp, give yourself a really delicious scalp massage, noticing the sensations around the jaw, around the ears. Maybe giving the ears a gentle pull. And seeing if you can stay with the breath while you offer touch and movement to the whole body, tending to the neck, to the shoulders and the throat, exploring the movements of the arms and shoulders. And checking in with each finger. allowing the breath to fill the whole body and then let go, releasing extra tension, checking in with the chest, with the ribs, with the belly and back. Feeling the pelvis, the hips, and going all the way down the legs, either with touch or movement or attention. If it's not possible to lean over and touch your legs, you might just close your eyes and send your breath to your legs. You might shake out your legs, feeling the mobility in your ankles, wiggling each toe, and then doing something to warm up the hips. So you might offer small hip circles, circling the legs, or moving the hips from side to side, or figure eights, following what feels really good for you in your body. And then following any last wiggles, any last movements before we welcome in a bit more stillness. So again, transitioning to sitting or lying down and giving yourself the opportunity. You might close your eyes and follow your breath and really check in with what feels good for you today, what feels right in your body. And once you've found your way, you might close your eyes or soften the gaze. When I say soften the gaze, that usually means sort of a 45-degree angle. So just looking down towards the ground. So you don't need to stare at anything in particular. You're kind of letting go of the eyes, of the visual being the main sensation that we pay attention to. So taking this time to go inward, finding a gentle rock in the pelvis. Feeling the breath. Following all the places where we can feel breath moving right now. All the movements in the ribs, in the spine, in the belly. And we're going to give some extra attention today to this central part of the belly, of the body, the spine, the pelvis, and the skull. So taking some time to notice here in stillness the alignment of your skull, where the weight of your head is, your spine, and your pelvis. So you might lean back just a bit to kind of lean into your spine. Finding the sits bones, allowing the pelvis to be heavy, to be fully supported by the ground. Finding length in the spine and a lightness in your head. So seeing, you might rock forward and back a tiny bit, rock side to side, and seeing if you can find that place where the head feels a little bit lighter and the spine feels long. And the pelvis feels really supported by the ground. And then we soften the jaw. We let the shoulders fall back and down, following gravity. We release the belly. The belly can be soft. We bring the attention to the breath. So noticing the sound of the breath, the temperature of the air as it travels in through the nose or mouth, and then the temperature as it travels out. And without pushing or pulling or doing anything special to the breath, we're just allowing it to be slow and long. Finding that fullness so it can really fill us up and allowing it to fully empty. Finding expansion as we breathe in and then release, surrender, finding relaxation as we breathe out, just letting it all go. So just noticing the easy, gentle rhythm of the breath. And feeling how the breath moves on its own without us having to do anything. So letting go of any sense of doing, any sense of control or working. Just allowing ourselves to fully be right here, right now, with nowhere else to go and nothing else to do. So giving ourselves this gift of time, really relishing in this pause, finding some pleasure, some enjoyment in the sensuality of the body, in allowing the body to be breathed. Feeling the gentle waves of the breath. Feeling the soft undulation in the spine as the breath fills the abdomen and empties. Allowing the breath to go all the way down to the pelvic floor. And checking in again with the jaw, making sure the jaw is soft. Softening the shoulders, relaxing the belly. And noticing the thoughts as they come and go, allowing them to pass by just like waves in the ocean. And whenever we get hooked by a thought, we start to tell a story or make a point. We just notice that the mind is thinking, and we bring the attention back to the sensations right now, feeling the temperature of the air, noticing the taste inside the mouth, noticing any places in the body that feel tight or spacious or numb. Feeling all the movement happening without us having to do anything. Movement of the breath, movement of the fluid body. All these muscles that subtly contract and release on their own. Tiny movements in the bones. And seeing if we can enjoy these last 3 breaths in stillness before we welcome in more movement. So slowly, as you're ready, we can begin to welcome in more movement in the pelvis, in the spine, in the skull. So just finding some soft, easy movements. Maybe following the weight of the head forward, allowing the head to follow gravity. And noticing what happens in the spine, in the pelvis as the head goes forward. And then following the breath, allowing the head to move back up and noticing what is the easiest way to move the head. So really paying attention to the pelvis, to the spine, So we might explore this same movement a few more times. So allowing the head to fall forward, noticing how the spine will round, how the pelvis will tuck. And then following the breath, and you might try starting this movement with the pelvis. So noticing what happens when the pelvis rocks forward. So if the pelvis were a bowl, the bowl would be pouring a little bit of water out towards the front, and noticing what happens with the spine as it unfurls and then lifts the head up. And you might explore allowing the head to fall back. Noticing the connection with the jaw. And then finding the easiest way to bring the head back to the front. So you might find a gentle circle with the neck. And then moving slowly enough that you can really notice these subtle changes. So as the head starts to fall forward and follow gravity, just feeling what naturally wants to happen in the spine and in the pelvis, allowing the belly to be soft here so we don't have to use any extra muscles. Maybe following a few breaths with your head forward, really relaxing into this position. And then as you're ready, allowing the breath to lead the way and noticing what happens when you start from the pelvis. So allowing the pelvis to rock forward, pouring the bowl of the pelvis out to the front, and slowly unfurling the spine and lifting the head, and maybe the head falls to the back just a bit, and exploring the connection with the jaw. And you might do this one more time. Of course, if there's a baby on your lap, you might allow this movement to be really small and really subtle. But you can still close your eyes and just notice these snake-like undulations in the spine and the connection between the spine, the pelvis, the head, the breath, the belly. And the next time you've unfurled the spine, you might take a small pause here, giving yourself a little break. Just noticing if there's anything that's changed in this short time, maybe the awareness of the spine, of the back body. Maybe your breathing has slowed, maybe the thoughts have slowed. And bringing the focus to this central part of the body, feeling the spine, Maybe there's a very subtle awareness of the vertebra and the spinal cord and the fluid that's moving inside the spine. So bringing a subtle awareness to the fluid body, seeing if we can find some soft fluid movements, maybe circling the spine. And the fluid inside the spine is pumping up and down through the spinal cord and up over the brain, washing the brain, bringing nutrients to the brain. So finding a fluidity in our joints. And if it interests you, if it's possible, depending on where babies are, and if you can come down to the floor, you might explore coming down to the ground, or maybe laying down on a couch. So just exploring this transition, really bringing some awareness to the fluid body. So allowing these movements to be soft, tapping into that watery sense of the body. And if you're sitting, you can still close your eyes and feel the fluids moving around the body, finding the fluidity in the joints. So sitting or lying down, you might find a gentle rock in the pelvis, maybe closing the eyes. Relaxing the shoulders, softening the belly, and just noticing what happens as you rock the pelvis forward and back, feeling the subtle movements in the spine, the subtle movements in the neck, in the head. And allowing these movements to be really slow so that you can feel the subtle sensations and the connections between each bone. And the fluid around the bones. So you might explore allowing your legs to fall to one side. If you're sitting, you can explore a subtle twist in the spine. So just noticing here as your spine twists to one side, feeling the subtle movements in the pelvis, in the neck, in the skull, So really allowing the breath to lead here. So we're not doing an exercise, we're really exploring the sensations in the body. So you might allow your eyes to close, bringing the attention inward and following the subtle movements of breath, allowing the legs to shift from one side to the other, or finding a gentle twist in your spine. And then you might try opening the eyes if they're closed and allowing the eyes to lead here. So maybe the eyes turn to one side. And as they start to get to that side, we might allow the legs to fall to the other side. Really following what feels good here, allowing the movements to be small and slow. So we're finding the easiest possible movements here. So no need to push or stretch or exercise. We're trusting that bringing more awareness to the body will naturally allow any changes that are wanting to happen to happen. And then taking a small pause here. So coming back to the center, maybe bringing one hand to the belly, one hand to the chest, closing the eyes, and feeling the movement of breath. And then slowly, as you're ready, we might transition into one more position. So you can choose what feels possible for you, what feels most interesting or inviting. So maybe you explore your way to hands and knees, staying on the ground, or maybe you explore your way up to standing. So again, really allowing that curiosity of movement, that childlike wonder, not quite knowing what we're going to find, not knowing exactly how this body is going to move or exactly how it's going to feel. Maybe closing the eyes, following the breath. Once you've found your way to hands and knees or to standing, you might rock your pelvis forward and back. Feeling the connection between the spine, the pelvis, and the skull. So first allowing the pelvis to lead the movement, the pelvis and the breath. So we're feeling the weight of the pelvis. So we might allow the pelvis to go to one side, maybe allowing the tailbone to go back a little bit, just feeling the length of the spine. Or if you're standing, you might allow the tailbone to go down a little bit, just lengthening the spine, feeling what happens as the pelvis changes position, rocking the pelvis forward and back, and allowing the spine and the skull to follow. So we're not doing an exercise so much as really checking in with what happens when we allow the bones to move in their easiest, most connected way. So when the pelvis tips forward, it pulls on the spine and it pulls on the neck. And there's an offering to the skull to move in a certain way if we're really following gravity. So moving slowly enough that we can really follow the breath, we can follow the call to gravity, and we can tap in to that subtle fluid quality through the movement of bones. And allowing the belly to be soft, relaxing the shoulders, softening the jaw, so letting go of any extra work here. Allowing the breath, the weight of the bones, and following gravity to do most of the work here. And then slowing down the movement, finding a position of stillness to take a small pause. Noticing the movement of breath. And just feeling anything that's changed here. Any subtle changes in the sensations in the body, the awareness of the bones. And the movement of breath. And then slowly, as you're ready, you might come to sitting, following your own transition, sitting, or maybe to lying down. And we can come back together for sharing. And we'll turn the recording off.